I'm Kathy Hansgate. I'm owner of Ladybug Farm Produce on Williamsville Road. I'm a certified organic farmer. I grew up on a farm, family farm, in Saugerties, New York, in the heart of the Hudson Valley. Lived there all through, childhood through college. The family farm, we raised 2,000 laying hens. We had 5 to 7 acres of vegetables and small fruits. 25 to 50 cows, dairy cows. So it was a true family farm. My parents and siblings, we all lived off the farm. And then when I was 18, I said, I don't want to marry a dairy farmer and be poor my whole life. So I became a physical therapist, and I married a chemical engineer, and we did the whole urban suburban thing. And the kids all grew up, and my husband took his last job transfer up here into Cambridge, and I said, well, I'm ready to retire from PT. I've been doing it for 32 years. Can I farm? And my husband was nice enough to say, sure, dear. And we ended up buying the farm out here in Hubbardston in May of 2011. The very next year, I joined the Agricultural Commission, and the president of our Agricultural Commission is Keith Tetrault, and Rebecca Lloyd is a member, and so is Mary Bartasarian. Rebecca runs a horse blanket washing business, and Mary is Beehive Farm, and she sells honey. And we have an opening for another member. One of our members needed to step down, so we have an opening. Chickens are not my favorite animal. However, when you have a small organic farm, chicken manure is a great source of fertilizer, and it's very beneficial to raspberries in particular. Asparagus loves chicken manure, and blueberries, blackberries in particular. Not that it's not good for your whole garden. So that's one of the things to think about when you have chickens is, what are you going to do with all the manure? And I had a phone call from a reporter at Gardner News, and she said, well, what should people consider when they get chickens? I'm like, well, where are you going to put them? And what are you going to do with the manure? And the federal guidelines from the USDA is that you must not put any manure, raw manure, on above ground plants area 90 days. You have to stop 90 days before you're going to plant those tomato and pepper and green beans. And for root vegetables like carrots, beets, potatoes, onions, leeks, it's 120 days. That's to allow time for the manure to do what it normally does in a garden or a raised bed or wherever you're putting it, and that's decompose and compost and turn back into dirt. So it's 90 for above ground and 120 for anything growing below ground. So take that into how you rotate where you're going to put the manure, because it's free fertilizer once you've paid for the chickens and the food and all the rest and your time. So that's something to think about. Another thought about raising chickens is, I think it was the town clerk the other day, she said, because she asked, how's it going? You ready for the workshop and everything? And one of her friends, Bobcat, came in this last week, took all their chickens. One of the things to worry about in where you place the coop is, yes, it's nice to have it under a tree for shade in the summer, because we're getting hotter and hotter summers. However, if you do that, and there's another, you could have animals that leap from tree to tree and easily access your chicken run. How much space does a chicken need when you're setting up to raise chickens? For a coop space, the state law and the federal guidelines is 1 square foot. in a coop. That's not very much space. However, the idea is let them outside when the weather permits, almost all the time. This winter, with all the ice and all of that, it's been harder for me personally to have my chickens outside. They're a flock that doesn't like the cold. And chickens are kind of snowblind. You get them with a glaze of white in front of them and they can't tell where the ground is. And they'll do crazy things on you. So you have to lay down some dirt, some sand, no salt, because it would be too much salt, little hay, to give them definition of where to come out of their coops and stuff. Because I'm thinking about, what I'm facing right now. And then one of the other questions she asked, well, we've got avian flu. How do you keep that away from your flock? Two things with wherever you have a coop, which I recommend that you have one that has a door in it tall enough for you to stand up inside and get in and out of, because it makes cleaning a lot easier and all the rest. Maybe if you only have 3 chickens, maybe one where the roof comes off so that you can clean up easily. I have always had more chickens than that, so it's a different story for me. Is to use chicken wire around your chicken run area and anchor it down with tent stakes so that you don't get critters coming underneath. If possible, the more out in the open it is, the better, because animals, even predator animals like coyotes and stuff, they don't like the open area as much. You should absolutely have some sort of electric fence around the perimeter of your chicken run, and run it all the time, because animals like bear, coyotes, fox will stay away from the chickens. My pet goat, I have to have it around the chicken so he doesn't push through because it's a big thing, into the chicken run and eat the chicken food, because chicken food has, I think, magnesium in it, which goats aren't supposed to have. Or it's the other way around, and chicken feed has selenium, and one has selenium, one has magnesium. I personally don't pay attention to that anymore. I just don't want them destroying everything by stomping through the chicken run. Yeah.
I was just going to say, I can attest to the electric fence around the coop, because I did not have electric around my 2 coops about 2 years ago. I had a bear attack 2 days in a row on both of my coops. I lost almost all of my chickens.
Bears can tear stuff apart. I mean, why do you want actual chicken wire versus? It's because it's small, and the only thing that's going to get through the chicken wire are mice. No wood rats or anything else. No weasels or critters of that size. And then you have that at least 3-4 feet high, and then a perimeter. And sometimes, now I'm very fortunate. I have a chicken yard with a big barnyard around it. So it's like got 3 levels of electric fences that protect my chicken run area. If you don't have that, you definitely have to have a couple different heights of chicken electric fence. So you need access with outdoor grade extension cords to bring electricity to your coop. That's ideal. So that you can do all those kinds of things.
Would
All
solar
right.
work? Would solar work? Are there solar electric fences or?
Yes, there are solar electric fences. I intend to put one up around my raspberry blueberry patch but I don't need it year round.
Use it towards the south, especially in the winter, to get as much sun as you can. Because
Yeah.
I lost power in my solar if I don't have it facing south.
And then you're at risk. Now in winter, like this, bears are usually not around, but you have coyotes and fox and bobcats and fisher cats and the like. And if you are, I'm pretty out in the open, so not too many birds actually want to come into the chicken yard. One way to protect against the avian flu is to get deer netting. Bird netting is too fine. Deer netting is a little bit firmer plastic and easier to work with. And you would put wherever you have, and fence posts are usually about 10 feet apart. And there's enough strength when you attach your chicken wire and stuff to it. You can put, what do you call them? They're about 1/2 inch by 2 inches wide, and you can get them about 8 foot tall, and you zip ties and you attach those to your fence posts. That creates a height above which you can walk under without running into netting, and that will keep all the birds out. Like hawks, great horned owls, which is the only owl that can actually kill a chicken and take it away. And they will do that, and we do have them here in Hubbardston. I can vouch for that. If there's migrating American eagles, they'll come look at your chickens too. You know, if they're not real big and stuff and it's too easy for them. So those are things for their habitat to consider if you're going to have chickens. Now, if you're only going to have 3 or 4 chickens, you only need a small coop, maybe no bigger than this table. It has to have a nesting box on it, because the whole idea right now, I think, is for having eggs. And different chickens will lay different quantities of eggs when they start laying. So we'll now go back to the beginning. Baby chicks. Where do you get your baby chicks? I order mine from Meyer Hatchery, and there's other hatcheries around the U.S. This one, Meyer's Hatchery, is in Ohio, and the organic certification now allows for the there's one vaccine that they can give new baby chicks, and so that's been allowed now to help keep the baby chicks healthy. And you have to pre-order. I ordered almost a month ago, and I particularly like New Hampshire Reds. They lay heavily for usually 2 years, and then what do I do with the older chickens? Well, I box them up and I take them to the Northampton livestock auction. And you can do that if you end up with too many roosters. They have a market every Tuesday, and sometimes you get a lot of money for them and sometimes you don't, but it's a good place to get rid of chickens you don't want anymore, or roosters. Northampton Livestock. So you have some baby chicks. How do you take care of them? Number one, they need to stay between 88 and 92 degrees. So you have to have some sort of heat lamp when you get them. I will order them. They're hatched on a Monday. I'll get them on Wednesday by ground delivery from the mail truck. Pick them up at the post office, literally, in a little box. And they call me as soon as they come in. I hear them chirping in the background, usually around 7:05 a.m. And I know what day to expect, so I'll make sure I'm ready. They need to have an area that's a huge cardboard box in a coop to keep them into a restrained area when they're so little, to keep the heat. And you have to adjust your height. You have to have a thermometer so that the thermometer is down close to the level of where the baby chicks are, so that you know that they're warm enough but not too hot. And there's small waterers. You don't want to put just a tub of water in them, or a pie plate of water, because they'll drown. They don't know any better. So you want a little plastic waterer anywhere. All around, all the farm stores here carry them. It's about a quart container with a little plastic red screw-on, screw-off lid. When you first get them, if you don't have many, you can take your cardboard box, put it in your garage, put it in your bathroom where you have a linoleum floor that you can easily clean up after. And you want to have lots of newspaper underneath, and you want to have shavings, wood shavings. Shavings are the best I think, best bedding for chickens. It's soft enough for them, but it's rough enough that they don't end up with chicken mites. If you give them hay or straw, those materials can allow little mites, which we can't see to our eye, like a spider mite, only it's a chicken mite. And then that makes the chickens itchy and it affects their health. So, you know, that's something. Shavings are easier to clean up, and
And that's for life
yeah.
with the hay.
I give them, I don't have, my chickens haven't been out much, so they get a small handful of hay. I don't give them a lot. I don't use it regular. I did one year and I had the worst mite problem. How do you know you have mites? Is they start pecking at each other's backs and pull all the feathers out. That's evidence that there's mites on a bird, because they go after them. So
It's good for winter warmth though, straw.
Straw.
Yeah, for winter.
you want to use straw, not hay.
Yeah, not hay.
Gotcha.
But shavings work well, and a heat lamp. I have a heat lamp in my coop right now. And when it's, you know, in the teens and lower, if it's that temperature, if it doesn't get above 25 in a day, it's running 24/7. I leave it on.
Do they need that?
Some breeds of chickens definitely do. Like I said, I have a sensitive flock this year. I grow New Hampshire Reds all the time, but this particular flock of 15 chickens is real sensitive. They don't like the cold. They don't want any of the wind. The coop does have a little bit of ventilation, but not enough to allow snow to blow in. That's, you know, in a blizzard, you don't want snow blowing in, but you do have to have some breathability, just like our homes have breathability. So does your coop. Anyhow, a good time to get chicks are in the spring. Why? Because you're getting into the summer months and you don't have to heat them and it's easier for them to grow up. It takes 20 weeks from a newborn chick before you can even think about getting eggs. Okay, they gotta mature. And when you get eggs, they're not gonna be big. They're called peewees because they're little. And I brought an old-fashioned scale. Peewees are 1.5 ounces or less. Smalls are 1.5 to 1 3/4.
It's
One-
a ping
one-
pong ball.
1 3/4 to 2, and the weight of the eggs, it's a standard. It's a national standard. So when you get a large egg, it's all within a certain range of weight per dozen, or extra large, or medium, or jumbos, or super jumbos. Okay? It's a standard. Anyhow, back to, you want to have cardboard, either a big roll that you can buy from a farm place, or you just take an old cardboard box and you pull the bottom out, anchor it down with some rocks in your coop, if you have a big coop like I do, and you put your heat lamp on a chain so you can raise it and lower it to the right heights, your thermometer, and they have chick starter mash, which you're going to feed to your baby chicks until they're about 18 weeks old. Then you can switch them. Just before they start laying, you can switch them to adult food. It is better to have them on the chick starter. It gives them good growth and good body because the nutrients are meant for quick growing birds. What else did I want to say about baby chicks?
One quick thing on the heat lamp. If your area you're keeping your chicks, keep the light off to one side a little bit. Gives them a little bit of an area to get away from the heat. So if it's too hot, they can get out of the heat.
Right.
If they're too cold, they'll get right under the lamp.
And
So you
yeah,
can kind of judge as far as that goes too,
right.
along with your thermometer.
Yes. And there's grit for baby chicks as well that you can put in a little pie plate, aluminum foil pan. Birds have a gullet, and grit helps with their digestion of their food. So grit, baby chick starter feed, and lots of good fresh water. If you forget to feed them, that's one thing, but you gotta make sure, I don't care what kind of animal or us as humans, we can get lost, but if we have water, we can survive for many days without food, but you need water.
Is it true you have to dip their beaks into the water?
No,
Okay, like the first time.
nope.
Okay.
Sometimes with the, not even usually the food, because they're all busy running around. But you don't want the food and the water directly under the heat lamp, like you said, so that they can step away from it a little bit. Fairly commonly, about 6 to 8 days, they go through a phase of maturing their gut, and you may have to have a wet throwaway washcloth to wipe off their butts, because sometimes the first few doses of food goes through and they're still sort of constipated, if you will. It sticks to their butts. You gotta wash it off gently. It has to be taken off because otherwise they can't go and they will die from not being able to go. So that's one of those funky little things. You know, it's like babies, you have to change their diapers. Chicks, you gotta wipe their butt. Usually only one time, get it all cleared out, and then they're fine.
I've only had that happen once out of maybe 20-something, 30-something chickens. So luckily it's usually not too common, but definitely something to keep an eye out for.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's sometimes it's worse than other times. I have no idea why. Same conditions, same feet, same habits, you know, I'm doing the same thing year after year. The question is, what does a straight run? A straight run means you've contacted the hatchery and you want all females. You have to pay extra for that, and hopefully you get them. I paid extra and I still ended up with 3 roosters. Once in a while it happens. As it turned out, I let those roosters stay with the flock until they got to be a nuisance to the ladies and were mature, but they were so pretty that when I took them to the Northampton livestock auction, I got $54 for 3 roosters.
Wow.
And that's the take home. That's after the fees that the auction house takes out. So that was not bad. Kind of weighed off. Because you have to, for roosters, you want to wait until they're fully mature to sell them, if you can. When a rooster is fully mature, the meat is tough. You have to cook it in a pressure cooker. If you have a chicken that has been laying eggs for a year and you decide to slaughter it and cook it, it's called a fricassee chicken. That's what it used to be called when I was a kid. I don't know what they call it now. That's what I call it. And you need to use a pressure cooker. Otherwise, you're cooking it in a pot of water for 8 or 9 hours to get it tender. They're very mature. The meat is very good. It's very healthy for us. But none of us really do much of that. I don't. Anyways, so adult laying hens. Again, fresh water every day. I like to use a metal, galvanized metal. A lot of people use plastic. You can use ones that have little tubes on them so that they can just peck at it. In the winter, my coop was not really heated. It's got a heat lamp in it, but I can still see my breath inside. It keeps them from shivering. Chickens will shiver. You know a chicken's cold when it's holding up one foot and it's trying to huddle. And this metal transmits heat better. And you can get these round, and they have a thermostat in them, water heaters that you set this on in your coop. And so the water will never freeze on you. And quick note, they kind of lock in place. You do not want to carry the whole thing full of water for very long distances. In other words, from your house 200 feet to the chicken coop, which is at least my distance, if not more. Because the mechanism where this hooks in and then allows the water to come out the bottom, but not at too heavy a rate, when it's got a lot of weight on it, it breaks. And then you have to buy another $40 waterer. So, but I like to use these. I can really wash these out. I can put them on the heater in the winter time. They never have frozen water. And I find that's very useful to me. Adult laying hens need adult layer mash or layer pellets. If you're going organic, you want to try Poulin now has an organic chicken feed, but I have been buying mine organic from Green Mountain, and Hardwick Farmers Co-op sells that. Storing your feed should be in a super heavy duty Rubbermaid garbage can with a really heavy lid on it, or a metal garbage can with a lid that you can, because wherever you're storing it, you're going to have critters trying to eat the food, and you don't want that. It's a mash or it's pellets, and you're going to get moths trying to live in the food too, depending on how much you buy at a time. So you want to protect your food from varmints getting into your feed source and then having an additional problem, or moths, flower moths and stuff will get into the feed if you have it a long time. A lot of people feed chickens cracked corn. Chickens love cracked corn. The problem with cracked corn is a mature laying hen needs 16 to 20% protein in their food. 16 I find is not enough. I feel you have to have 18 to 20 to get good egg production. And where was I going with this? Oh, cracked corn is 3.5 to 4% protein. It's like candy. Candy tastes great, but it's not that great for us. And that's candy to a chicken, is cracked corn. In order to teach chickens, most coops have some kind of layer box. In order for them to know, a lot of chickens automatically know to lay eggs in a layer box. However, some don't. So you can do a plastic Easter egg in the nesting box so that they start laying them in there. And I brought 2 samples, and these are antique. These are China eggs that were obviously used at some point in nesting boxes. These at least are from the 40s. So that's what these look like. Ceramic eggs. And you can just pass that around. Chickens can have salmonella. So the question with adult chickens is do you what do you do with your eggs? There's one theory that you can keep, if you don't wash your eggs, they're fine. That's okay for a few days if the temperature where you're keeping the eggs is not too hot. I use small laying baskets. These are getting old, a bit rusty. I have a laundry sink, and I wash all my eggs in with Dr. Brunner's Pure Castile soap. Dr. Brunner's Castile. You can get it at Target, sometimes Walmart. Unscented, otherwise your eggs will taste funny. And then I like to use these Scotch Bright Dobies, they call them. They have a little scrub on them, and if you're gentle, it'll, you get your eggs wet and wipe them off. If you store unwashed eggs in an egg carton, do not ever use that egg carton a second time. Throw it away. Because chickens have a lot of salmonella issues, and if you handle that egg box with other eggs or other things in your kitchen, you're going to get stomach flu. All right? Don't do it. The box that's going around you know, is an egg box. I have my own supply. I don't take boxes from other people because I never know where they've been. Where have those egg boxes been? Eggcartons.com will sell you a variety of things, from baskets to scales if you actually want to get scales. I usually just sell my eggs as mixed sizes and set a price. And it's nice to give eggs to your friends and neighbors, but then you're losing money. Eggs are an adventure that costs money. And why not, especially now, take advantage and sit down and figure out how much it costs you to produce those eggs, based on how long they go through, you know, a 50-pound bag of feed, because that's the way to buy it. Wouldn't buy it any smaller. Even if you only have 2 chickens, buy a 50-pound bag. It's cheaper. And sit down, you know, your time and everything else. And over a number of years, certain things you don't have to include, like the cost of the fencing and all the rest. Because if you do it year after year, it kind of washes out in what you've done. But it does, and you do need to pay attention to your chickens twice a day. When the weather is fine, I open the coop doors and windows and let lots of fresh air in, and I feed them outside. At night, I feed them inside. Why feed them inside at night? So they go in. Makes life a whole lot simpler. And chickens who are adult that you want to lay year round, they need a minimum of 13.5 to 14.5 hours of light per day, which means you're putting a light in the coop with a timer so that they keep laying all winter long. Because if they start in October and they stop in December, you're going to go, what the heck? You know, I spent all this time raising some chickens and I'm not getting eggs. Well, the days are too short. So you have to put lights in, a light in the coop. And whether you go to Good Earth in Gardner or Hardwick or Tractor Supply, they all sell these cone-shaped kind of, and they'll have crisscrosses. I'm not going to draw this well. Underneath, so that the birds can't fly up against the light bulb and break it and cause all kinds of problems. And your light bulb will be up in here. This is solid aluminum up here. This is all aluminum. And that works really well. You hang it on some kind of chain or piece of baler twine or whatever you have. And you set it so that they have light all the time.
Is that light different than the heating lamp?
Yes. The heating lamp should be red. Chickens don't see red very well, so it doesn't interfere with their light cycles. And the red heat lamp bulbs, they're available again. Hardwick Farmers Co-op, Tractor Supply, Good Earth, they all have that stuff. So you get your chicks in the spring, you grow them all summer long, you get them used to, you keep them inside till they're at least 6 weeks old. They know they're home. They're protected. They start looking like little pterodactyl birds because they go through a funny phase of growth, from a cute chick to a teenage chicken that's got funny feathers growing and they're not mature yet. And then you can let them out, and number one, they know where they should go in at night, but feeding them outside in the morning, inside at night, really gets them into the routine, makes life real easy. So when you go on vacation, it is easy to have someone just stop over twice a day, collect the eggs in the evening before it gets too cold, and take care of your chickens while you go on vacation or something. Because you do have to have someone take care of them. They don't take care of themselves. And they need care twice a day, every day of every year, of the whole year. There's no exceptions. What not to feed your chickens. Do not feed them any food waste that contains meat grease or meat. Don't don't feed chickens apples that have the core in them, because the apple seeds contain a poison. Cyanide? No, what am I trying to think of?
Cyanide?
Yeah.
Cyanide.
Yeah.
Apple seeds contain cyanide. Well, for us, we're so big, it doesn't matter, 3-4 seeds. But for a chicken, if she ate all the seeds in an apple, she could die. And I've had it happen to me. Oops, crap, I messed up. But I never made that mistake a second time. So, you know, you would need to avoid that. Anything else you guys would suggest they not have?
Onions,
Okay.
nightshade family, no nightshade.
Yeah, no onions. They love tomatoes. They love cucumbers.
You gotta be careful.
Why?
The green plant, I was told.
Oh, no, not
Yeah.
the plant,
No, but
tomatoes.
people throw things, all kinds of stuff in.
Oh,
chicken
not the
coops.
tomato plants, no.
I've
no.
seen it happen. What are you
Tomatoes,
doing?
yes. Cucumbers, yes. Potatoes,
I was
nah.
gonna say something a little odd, but in the winter, if you find that your eggs are so cold they crack because of the weather, you can actually cook them and feed them back to the chickens. It's kind of odd. You can actually break up the shell included.
Yeah, if they crack, they've been frozen.
They will eat their own eggs. That's what the fake
Yeah.
eggs are typically for. If they're first starting to lay, they might be curious to peck their own eggs. So you put the fake ones there so they peck it, nothing happens. But you can actually feed them back their own eggs with the shell included for calcium. So you don't waste eggs.
An adult chicken needs extra calcium to keep laying for a couple years. So you can get oyster shell. It comes in little bags if you only have a few chickens, or you can buy it in a 50-pound bag like I do. Lasts probably 3-4 months, and you give them a quarter of a scoop just about every day. It gives them what they need for their gullet, and it gives them extra calcium. If you have a customer or a friend who's highly, highly allergic to seafood, tell them not to use your eggs. I actually had one lady who discovered that she was having some symptoms of an allergic reaction to eggs, and the grower had used oyster shell, the crushed oyster shells, seashells, and she had an issue. It's very rare, but it does exist. Then I gave you also from MDAR, Massachusetts Department of Agricultural Resources, just their general guidelines. And also for growing chickens, and then also safe handling, egg handling practices. Just a warning, don't put wet eggs in a cardboard box, they'll stick. Wait till the eggs dry off a little bit in a little drain. I take a dollar store bin with a little drain plastic piece in it that'll let the water drain out, that any excess that happens to still be on the egg will drain away so that they can dry properly and not stick in your egg box. So now I'm open for questions. Anybody got any ideas and questions about chickens? There's a lot of breeds out there. I grow New Hampshire Reds because of their tolerance most of the time, although not this flock, of winter conditions. When I was growing up, we had white leghorns. My family now has a mix of both. White leghorns, because they have customers that have been coming to my family farm for 60 years, and they still want their white eggs because they, but all their chicks are raised separate and then go into big open floor coops.
The color of the eggs means nothing.
The color means nothing, it's what you feed them. You want more orange yolks for your eggs, you have them in an area where they can have access to the worms. Oh, and they'll eat a frog or a toad that comes in their chicken run too. they're kind of aggressive. They, but the grass, and they can scratch around. Like I said, you can give them vegetables, but not really. I don't feed them tomato plants or carrot greens or anything like that. But a lot of vegetables are really good for them. Winter squashes, cut them up and open them up. They'll eat them right down to the skins. They love watermelons and cantaloupes that are pumpkins, yeah.
What about mealworms?
Yes, in the wintertime you can give them mealworms to get extra protein because they're working so hard. Yes, their coop is just above freezing. I know it is because the shavings are not frozen solid, they're fluffy. Right now I'm kind of building up a layer of manure because it's so frozen I can't do anything. As soon as we get a warm spell next week, I need to clean the coop. And it's early. I have not put the chicken manure on my yellow raspberries or my black raspberries, so that's where it's going to go. And after that, it'll go on the garden until mid-March. Because I grow a lot of vegetables, I stop mid-March in the garden.
How often do you clean it?
You don't want it to get 10 times a year. It's in the summer it's not very often because they're outside so much, and they go outside. Very little in the coop, but in the winter you need to clean more often.
And when you let them out, so they're out of their coop, like, are they in a fenced-in area?
Yes, I have a chicken, well, that's what I call a chicken run. For 30 chickens, up to 35 chickens, it's approximately 30 feet wide and 60 feet long. So
it's like like a big enclosed.
Attached to the coop, yeah. So you can just slide the coop door open and they can.
the coop sits in the middle. My coop was built with my bigger coop. Here's the coop. And the nest box is across the back, and it has 6 boxes in it, all in a line. It has wooden structure. That's how it was made, so it could be shipped, and a board, big wide board there. So I don't put that on the ground. I put that on concrete blocks. Whoops, I'm not drawing very good at all. And that gives a place for the chickens to go underneath. They can go underneath and get out of the sun. That's one area where I do throw hay scraps underneath so that they can fluff and sit in the sun. And like I said, chickens are snowblind, so if they have their little door, assuming we add another side here, and they have the little chicken run door, there should be a ramp that comes with your coop so that this would flip up and stay and hook up and stay open all day until you lock it up at night, and they can come in and out freely. Yeah, your coop should have windows on the side, a door for people to get in and out, and a window on the back over the laying box area that will close and open with a hook for ventilation. It's not open right now, but in the summer it is. South facing, and I want the light to come in and the air to blow through. The newest thing that's out for organic standards is doing ammonia in the air in your chicken coop checks once a week. Had to buy strips. It's crazy, but it's true. You have big coops with lots of birds, and they don't want the ammonia level to be too strong in there for the birds or for the people going through taking care of them. And so they have made a federal law that you now check ammonia levels at the height wherever your chickens are. So for me, it would be down here near the ground floor level. But one more thing to do for 15 chickens that are certified organic.
Is that only if you're selling your eggs that you have to do that?
Probably. And because my whole farm is certified organic, the chickens too. I brought this along. This is an old-fashioned chicken hook. You can get them at Hardwick Farmers Co-op. It works so nice when you have to catch a chicken that's somewhere you shouldn't be. You just snag this around their leg and lift them up. Otherwise, if you want to catch your chickens, you put them in the coop. When the lights go out or it gets dark, they're up on their roosts. You know, there should be a piece of wood or two lengthwise for their roost, because chickens don't normally sleep on the floor too often. If you have one that's a timid chicken compared to the rest of the flock, she might hide on the floor in a corner, but the rest, like any bird, like to be up on a roost. And only at night can you go in, unless they're your true pets. These are not my pets. These are my hens. And I take care of them as very best as I can because I like to treat animals well, but they're not friendly. I can't just walk up to them and have them want me to pick them up. So to catch a chicken, you wait till it's dark and you go in and you grab them by the feet. And it's okay to let them hang upside down for a little bit. It won't hurt them. Now, if you get a rooster that's really going after you, they say, and it does work sometimes, catch that rooster with a hook because he has a big back claw. And boy, you don't want to get hooked by those guys. That hurts. Or they peck. So you can grab them, hold them upside down for about a minute and a half till they are like, oh, I don't know, this doesn't feel so good. And then you put them down and let them. And you may have to repeat it a few times, but hopefully, unless you have one that's really ornery, like I have, you get all kinds of experiences. Some chickens are cuddly, some roosters are nasty as all get out, because they're protecting their ladies. And they usually do protect their ladies. They'll sacrifice themselves to keep the ladies alive. A house about a half-mile away didn't keep their dogs on leashes when we first moved in, and 2 different years I had my roosters sacrifice themselves because the dogs pushed through the fencing. Actually, they jumped over it. This was before I had electric fence around because it was right next to my greenhouse, protected area. But no, those dogs came in and the roosters sacrificed themselves to save the flock, which they did. But I lost my roosters. So that's one reason to maybe keep a rooster, unless he gets too aggressive. Some breeds, Rhode Island red roosters, I've had some of those. They seem pretty calm. It depends on the breed of chicken, and there's all kinds. There's laying, there's show birds, there's meat birds. They're all bred for different purposes.
Can I just interject?
Go right ahead.
If you do want your chickens as pets, I recommend spending a lot of time with them when they're little. The first group of chickens that I had, I spent a lot of time with. My son spent a lot of time picking them up, holding them, petting them, and they were super friendly. But the next 2 couple of chickens that I had less time to spend with them, so they were less friendly. They weren't, aggressive or anything, but they were a little more fearful of you walking up to them. But I still have one of my original chickens, and I can literally just pick them up and hold her.
Yeah,
so
they can be
definitely
very
spend
friendly,
time with them.
and it can be a great thing.
If you put the time in.
They've, you see little videos on people kissing their chickens. It's not recommended.
I've done it.
You can do it, but chickens can carry salmonella. I don't care how careful you take care of them. That's part of the world of chickens. So it's not wise to kiss a chicken. That's why. Not because it's not a good thing or anything, but that's why. Talk to your chickens. The more you talk to them, hey chickies, there's when you go into, we used to have big open floor coops that held 400 chickens. Well, you better darn talk to them while you're coming in the coop, or you got chickens flying all over the place. Because at that number of chickens, you've got a business, and they're not played with. And so you got to get them used to yourself coming in and going out. Yeah.
So in your experience with dogs, can most people train their dogs to get along with the chickens or no?
Yes. I have a miniature schnauzer, and she doesn't bother the chickens. She's seen chickens her whole life on my farm, so it's not a problem. But I also don't let her in the coop because I have a schnauzer. You have to trim their fur and everything. She goes in the house. I don't want. There's a line. I draw a line. No chicken poop in the house, okay? All right?
I have 3 herding type dogs, and only one of them is interested in herding, and luckily she doesn't get aggressive. I have actually asked her to help me round them up, and she kind of understands what I'm asking. But yeah, I think as long as you spend time with your dogs when they kind of maybe first see them as baby chicks and you kind of see them grow up, I've noticed that if they're watching them grow up, they have a better time accepting them as other pets,
Yeah.
rather than just all of a sudden they're there and it's
Yeah.
exciting and new. So I think-
My goat is very lonely because it's so icy, and he's 11 and a half years old. He's a very old goat, and I can't let him out in the ice, right? I don't want him to break a hip and then I have to put him down. So he's been in his big barn stall for a while, and you can tell he's missing the chickens because they share a big barnyard, and he's missing the chickens.
Same with cats too.
Yeah?
They could be interested in your chickens, especially when they're younger.
Oh, when they're small? Oh, yes.
So, yeah, just be aware. Yeah.
Yeah, if you have, if you get your chickens in March and it's really cold out and you got your box in the garage, or maybe even the first couple days in the bathroom, or a laundry room or something, keep that door shut or you won't have chicks because cats love birds.
Going back to different breeds, you can go online, you can learn a lot as far as different breeds. Being in New England and us getting the cold weather, those cute chickens with a big floppy comb are going to get frostbite, and they'll all turn black. And so kind of picking, when you go to pick chickens out, pick out ones that are good for your area. If you're going to move to Texas, switch it up. But I've tried to go through and get ones with smaller combs just because of that. And also they'll let you know by breed how many eggs they should probably lay a year, whether they are cold tolerant, whether they are heat tolerant, whether they tend to be friendly. And again, I had the same situation. First chickens I got were loves. Second ones I got from here to that wall away, and they started
Flying
scattering.
around and scattering, yeah.
They were just a totally different stress. They're the same breeds, totally different as far as their,
The nature of them,
Nature of
yeah.
them,
do
yeah.
have different personalities, funny enough, they really do.
Guinea hens, if you have guinea hens, just remember they have a 3-second memory. And they only lay eggs from May to maybe middle of September. They will not lay eggs over the winters, no matter light or no light. Their eggs are good. They're small size eggs.
So quiet, aren't they quiet? Don't make
It
as much noise as chickens do. That's what I heard.
Guinea
Anyway.
no, they're very noisy.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking quail.
The
they'll
good
like your
the good
neighbor's
thing
yard
with
better than yours too.
oftentimes, yeah, they want to wander. They tend to fly more. They're more of a wildish bird than
Those are like almost like turkeys.
than our modern hybridized chickens that we raise and grow now.
It's like-
But they're good. I mean, they eat ticks. If you can get some mild-natured ones that will stay close by and aren't too flighty. Seems like I had ordered guinea hens from a hatchery in Texas, and they were the flightiest guinea hens I'd ever had. I did have to net them so I wouldn't lose them. They would, yes. But one lived 9 years.
Wow.
So I kind of kept it just because. Every once in a while you do things for fun, not just for business. And that's what chickens can be. They can be fun. But they are a twice a day, every day of the year job.
They're very fun when they learn the sound of the treat bag. If they're far away and you shake it and they get to know it, and
Oh,
they'll
yeah.
run to you flapping. I
Mhm.
love that.
Yeah,
So-
any animal, if you have a metal bucket and you put their grain in it, whether it's a goat, a cow, a horse, they'll come, even if they're not yours, so that you can lock them in a barnyard and call whoever that you think they belong to. Any questions? Any more ideas and thoughts about all of this? Yeah.
Are there any good resources for coop plans?
What did you do?
Actually, my husband hand built ours, just figuring it out on his own. I know Etsy sells plans, different sizes and different designs and things like that. Yeah, it's probably going to be your cheapest bet to build it yourself.
Yep.
It'll take some time, but yeah, I definitely recommend if you can build it yourself.
Look
'Cause-
up Carolina Coop online. Just, he's got videos.
Ah, Carolina Coop. Thank you.
Yes, he's not gonna necessarily show you how to do it, but my husband figured it out. And we have the Taj Mahal of chicken coops at my house. So the bear did not get in and it is not electrified.
I would recommend also not going to Tractor Supply for your coop. I bought one out of a necessity. I just quickly had to grab one. It was very expensive and I felt very, very cheaply made. So just keep that in mind. Good for a temporary structure, but I felt that the wood that they used was, you could push a fingernail into it and it would, immediately break
Collapse.
and crack. And the hardware they use is very cheap, so just keep that in mind for coops. Cheap.
The two coops that I bought pre-made, one was from the Amish, and the second one was from a fellow who's now retired down in North Brookfield, and he built coops. Both of them have linoleum on the base, so it's easier to keep the floor clean. When I change flocks in a coop, I clean it all out, I dust it all down, and then I take Lysol in water and mop everything and sanitize it. The walls, everything. I don't do the ceiling because the ceiling is the aluminum roof. So I don't do that, but I do dust everything down between flocks. So every time you change, really sanitize your coop. It's worth it. It gets rid of all the chicken mice that might have laid eggs in the wood walls and stuff. My coops are not painted. Well, one is painted and the other one isn't, and that's fine.
Dust baths also help with mites too, right?
Yes, if they start going outside and they want to, my barnyard was for horses originally, so it's got a sand base, so they'll scratch down to where they get in the sand and they fluff and they get the sand all in their feathers and everything. And dirt, dry dirt, will do the same. That gets rid of
Diatomaceous earth too.
yes, and diatomaceous earth, which is what people use in their filters in their swimming pools. It's food grade, and that's very safe to dust the chickens with. Yep. All right. Thank you.